Okay, let's unpack this. This is a really practical challenge a lot of couples face. You know that feeling when you want to try something new in the bedroom, maybe a different position to spice things up, but your partner seems hesitant, a little uncomfortable.
Hmm.
We recently got our hands on a fascinating source for a deep dive. It's actually from a listener question sent to a Vietnamese podcast looking for some expert
I
advice.
know.
The listener, a husband, was asking specifically how to gently encourage his wife to try a different position, the wife on top position, and, crucially, how to help her feel more comfortable after their first attempt felt, well, awkward.
Yeah, awkward is a good word for it sometimes.
Totally. And what's fascinating here is while the specific question comes from a man, the insights the expert offers are incredibly broad. They really apply to any couple navigating this kind of space.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very real situation. So, our mission today is to really dig into that expert advice, understand why introducing new positions can be tricky, and, pull out the practical, actionable strategies the source suggests. Strategies to help couples explore intimacy with more comfort, more confidence, and hopefully a deeper connection.
Exactly. So let's start with this listener specific scenario because it perfectly frames the core problem.
Yeah.
He suggested the wife on top position. His wife was initially reluctant, but she agreed to try it.
Right.
But when they did, it just didn't feel right. It was awkward, maybe even a bit fumbling.
Hmm.
And now he's left asking, okay, we tried it. It felt weird. Should we keep trying? How do we make this work better and help her feel comfortable?
Right. And the expert in the source immediately flags wife on top as what they consider an advanced position.
Advanced. Interesting. Why?
Well, it requires a significant mental shift for many people. We're often, socially conditioned to picture sex with the man being more active, maybe on top, and the woman being more receptive or passive.
Right. That's the default script for a lot of us.
Exactly. So for the woman to take that leading role, to be proactive, it kind of goes against that ingrained programming for many. It can feel unfamiliar, even vulnerable.
But the source also points out why this position can be incredibly rewarding, potentially a favorite for many women.
Oh, absolutely. When the woman is on top, she has so much more control. If she has a good understanding of her own body, maybe through self-exploration, knowing what feels good, she can control the movement, the angle, the depth, the friction,
Okay, so it puts her in the driver's seat, literally.
pretty much.
Ah,
And this control can make it significantly easier for her to reach orgasm, which, as we know, often takes women longer than men. That physical and mental control from that position is a huge potential benefit.
so the desire to introduce a new position, to change things up like this, that's totally natural in a long-term relationship, right?
Mhm.
It's part of keeping things feeling fresh and connected.
It absolutely is. But just like this listener's question shows, trying new things, especially something that feels significantly different, can easily lead to awkwardness, confusion, maybe even discouragement for both partners involved.
Yeah, it's definitely a vulnerable space.
It really is.
Which really begs the question, why is introducing a new position so often met with reluctance or discomfort? What are the deeper reasons the source points to?
Well, the source delves into several key reasons. The first one they really highlight is simply fear and shyness.
Even in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, even then. Many women, the source notes, fear judgment or feel self-conscious when taking a more proactive role in sex. It's not just performance anxiety. There's also fear tied to a lack of knowledge. They might wonder, do I know enough about this? Is this going to hurt? Or even worry about some of those ingrained cultural myths, like being ruined by certain acts.
Wow, that links directly back to the social conditioning you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. The source really stresses this deep-seated societal expectation for women to be, gentle, demure, passive. So being expected to be assertive, to take charge in a position like wife on top, feels inherently uncomfortable or shy for many because it clashes with that deep programming.
That conditioning is powerful stuff and probably takes conscious effort to navigate.
Definitely. And then there's just the pure physical awkwardness of trying something new.
Right.
The source has this great, really relatable anecdote about attempting a new position and it just turning into like a comedy show.
Huh. Yeah, I can imagine.
Just fumbling, not quite aligning correctly, feeling like you're missing the target, not knowing what it's supposed to feel like or exactly what your body is supposed to be doing. It can just lead to confusion, frustration, maybe even embarrassment right there in the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And tied into that is the fear of pain or even actual injury. The source shares this pretty stark cautionary tale
Oh, yeah.
about a couple who tried to mimic a position they saw in a movie and actually ended up needing back treatment.
Oof. That's a vivid warning.
It really is. It just underscores that some positions simply aren't safe for everyone, or they might require specific physical conditions, flexibility, or strength that maybe not everyone has.
Right. And recognizing those physical limitations is absolutely crucial. The source specifically mentions positions, maybe seen in things like the Kama Sutra, that look incredibly challenging. They demand significant flexibility or strength. The expert even asks men to genuinely consider, am I strong enough to do this?
Oh,
Particularly for positions that involve lifting or supporting a partner's weight.
that's a very practical check.
It is. And they add a specific caution about positions like doggy style, if the woman has spine problems, warning against excessive arching, which could be risky.
Which, when you step back and look at all these factors, the fear, the conditioning, the awkwardness, the physical limits, it all seems to point to an even more fundamental underlying issue the source identifies.
Which is,
Communication gaps. The root of the difficulty in introducing new positions often isn't the position itself, but the fact that couples just aren't used to discussing sex openly at all.
okay. So if you can't talk about your fears, your awkwardness, your physical concerns outside the bedroom.
Exactly. How can you possibly navigate them in the bedroom when you're feeling vulnerable?
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so we've got the challenge laid out, and we understand some of the key reasons for reluctance straight from the source material. How does the expert suggest couples actually navigate this? What are the actionable strategies?
Right. So the first strategy they propose is kind of a two-parter. Getting educated and getting physically prepared. That means understanding both the positions themselves and your own body.
So knowledge is the starting point, like do your homework.
Pretty much, yeah. The source emphasizes doing your research, learn about different types of positions, lying, sitting, standing, semi-sitting, lying, and then critically, choose positions that are suitable for your specific situation and, most importantly, your physical health.
Assessing physical health before trying something new sounds, well, non-negotiable based on that back injury story.
It's highlighted as absolutely crucial. The source really stresses the need for strength, especially for standing positions or those requiring one partner to support the other. They specifically caution against standing positions if either partner has existing bone, joint, back, shoulder, or neck issues. And that warning about doggy style with spine problems because of the potential for excessive arching is repeated for good reason. Safety first.
Yeah.
The expert's direct question for men, am I strong enough to do this, is a simple but vital check for anyone attempting positions requiring strength.
So it's not just about what might look exciting or different on screen. It's about what's genuinely safe and feasible for your unique bodies before you even get started.
Precisely. Taking the time to acquire that knowledge and honestly understand your own physical limits beforehand can genuinely prevent discomfort, injury, and, regret down the line.
Makes sense. And how do they suggest getting this knowledge?
The source suggests various ways, watching movies critically, looking at online resources, checking out images of positions. It's about informed exploration, not just jumping in blindly.
Okay, so step one, understand the position, understand your body. Got it. What's the next piece of the puzzle?
This next strategy is arguably the most fundamental of all, and it's all about communication. Improving communication.
Back to communication.
Always. The source points out that a partner simply saying, I don't like it, might not be the whole story. It often indicates that the communication between you isn't deep enough yet to understand the real why behind the reluctance.
They introduce a great concept here, don't they? Something about a scale.
Yes. I love this idea, the openness scale.
Mm-hmm.
They suggest honestly assessing where you and your partner are on a scale of 1 to 10 for how often you openly and comfortably talk about sex.
Okay.
The insight here is if you're at a low score, say below a 5, where talking about sex is rare or maybe feels awkward or is non-existent, then directly demanding or pushing for new positions is almost certainly going to fail.
Because the foundation isn't there.
Exactly. You haven't built the necessary foundation of open communication.
So if the openness score is low, the solution isn't to push harder on the sex talk itself, but to, what? Start smaller.
Precisely. Start easy. Practice the act of asking about your partner's feelings and thoughts on any topic in life, not just sex. How was your day? How did that meeting make you feel? What are you thinking about that project? Build the basic habit of sharing and actively listening on everyday things. This is the groundwork that needs to be laid.
And the source acknowledges this isn't always easy, right? It can feel awkward.
Not at all. If neither partner is used to expressing feelings or asking about them, it can feel incredibly awkward initially. And you might get those default kind of dismissive answers like, it's normal, it's fine, or I don't see anything wrong.
Yeah, the classic deflection.
Right. So patience and persistence are really key here.
Absolute patience is essential.
Don't get discouraged by initial unexpressiveness. The experts suggest being persistent in gently encouraging deeper sharing. They even share a specific technique they use with clients that couples can adapt.
Oh, what's that?
Using an emotion wheel. One of those diagrams with lots of different feeling words. It helps identify and name feelings beyond just normal or fine or okay.
Oh, interesting, like giving you more vocabulary for your internal state.
Exactly. The rule they suggest trying is, try hard not to just say normal. The insight here is that having a richer vocabulary for your feelings, even the non-sexual ones, helps you communicate more accurately about complex or vulnerable topics, like intimacy, later on.
That emotion wheel idea is a fantastic, really practical tip to get couples started.
It really is, because by practicing discussing these non-sexual feelings and thoughts, couples are building the skills and the comfort level needed to eventually discuss sex more effectively. It's a gradual process, like training that communication muscle.
Now, the source adds a really crucial caution about this communication process, something that can easily derail the whole thing.
Ah, yes, this is vital. It's about separating, sharing your feeling from blaming your partner for that feeling.
Huge difference.
A massive difference. This distinction is incredibly important in any difficult conversation, but maybe especially about sensitive topics like sex. The expert gives a sharp example. The difference between saying, I feel hurt versus saying, you made me feel hurt.
Because the second one immediately puts the other person on the defensive. It sounds like an attack.
Precisely. You made me feel hurt turns the conversation into an accusation, and it can easily spiral into attacking each other. Well, I've done so much for you and you still feel this way.
Yeah, that sounds familiar in argument.
Right. The source stresses that this turns the focus from resolving the problem together to just fighting each other. The crucial insight is, share your experience, I feel X, without assigning blame. You did Y, which made me feel X. The goal needs to be collaborating against the problem, not making your partner the problem.
Wow. That reframing alone feels like it could be a game changer for any relationship conflict, not just about sex.
Totally agree.
Okay, so that's communication. What's the third strategy?
This strategy zeroes in on building confidence, particularly in the partner who might be feeling hesitant or self-conscious. As the source points out, this is often the woman, likely due to those societal factors we've discussed. It's about actively helping your partner feel desired, safe, and confident.
Okay, so how does the other partner actively help with that? What does that look like in practice?
The source emphasizes consistent, complimenting, gentle caressing, and showing genuine affection, not just in the bedroom, but generally. Also, mutual guidance during the act itself is key when trying something new. Both partners might feel awkward initially, right?
For sure.
So guide each other with small, specific suggestions. Move a little here to the left, up a bit maybe. Could you shift your weight slightly? This is how you navigate the physical awkwardness and find comfort together. It becomes collaborative problem solving.
And reassurance sounds like it plays a big role here too, like verbal encouragement.
It makes a tremendous difference. Hearing your partner's affirmation, especially from the husband in the listener's scenario, can significantly boost comfort and confidence when you're trying something new and feeling vulnerable. Simple phrases like, yes, that feels good, you're doing great, I really like this, or even just, thank you for trying this with me, are incredibly powerful.
And compliments are presented as a major piece of this confidence building. The source talks about complimenting during sex, but also making it a habit outside the bedroom.
Yes, this is highlighted as a fundamental strategy. Make it a consistent practice to compliment your partner genuinely and specifically. Compliment anything you notice and appreciate her style, her intelligence, how she handled a challenging situation at work, a specific outfit she wore that you liked, her perfume, her kindness, the small things too.
And then the source makes a very specific and I think incredibly powerful point here. Something maybe a bit unexpected.
You mean about complimenting the vulva?
Exactly. The expert poses the question, has the man ever complimented his wife's vulva? Now, this might sound confronting, maybe even taboo to some.
But the insight is deep. Many women carry body image issues related to their genitals, which can absolutely contribute to shyness or reluctance in sex. Maybe leading them to avoid lights during intimacy or feel self-conscious during certain acts or positions.
Right.
The source stresses that a partner genuinely cherishing her vulva, showing that he appreciates and loves that specific part of her body, can profoundly impact her confidence and reduce that deep-seated shyness.
Wow. That goes far beyond just a generic, you're sexy, doesn't it?
Hmm.
It's about specific, vulnerable affirmation of a part of the body many women feel insecure about.
It absolutely does. And these compliments, especially when combined with consistent non-sexual physical affection, a kiss on the cheek, forehead, neck, holding your hand and kissing it, a warm hug just because build a reservoir of confidence, joy, and reduce defensiveness or shyness. The source points out that many people from, say, our parents' generation maybe didn't receive much praise growing up, so this kind of consistent affirmation can be particularly impactful. It builds intimacy and comfort as a default mode in the relationship, not just in the bedroom.
And the ultimate result of building this confidence and sense of being desired, what does that lead to?
As confidence grows, as your partner feels truly cherished and safe, suggesting and trying new positions becomes much, much easier. The source uses a great idiom, easy as flipping a table.
Love that.
It's because the emotional and physical safety net has been built through communication and consistent affection.
So this isn't just about learning a position, it's really about viewing sex as mutual nurturing and honoring, as the source puts it, appreciating and honoring each other's bodies and experiences.
That connection and appreciation piece is the real transformative insight here, I think. It's presented not just as something you do together, but as a gift partners give each other, actively building each other up.
That's a beautiful way to frame it. Okay, what's the fourth core strategy the source covers?
The fourth strategy is really about shifting focus inward, concentrating on your shared personal experience and connection rather than trying to replicate or live up to external expectations, especially those often portrayed in movies or other media.
Okay, so let's say you try a new position, you've done the prep, communicated, and it just doesn't feel good. Is that okay?
The source is absolutely clear on this. It is perfectly okay if you try a new position and you don't like it. That is completely fine.
Phew, good to hear.
Seriously. Everyone has different bodies, different preferences, different tastes, as the source says. The world of intimacy is vast. There are many, many other positions and variations to explore if one doesn't work for you.
And comfort is the top priority here.
Above all else, the most important thing is that both partners feel comfortable and safe. And they point out that comfort often comes from variation within a position. Even something like wife on top has countless small adjustments. You can make the angle, the rhythm, the depth, how much weight is supported to find what works best for your unique bodies together. You're not trying to match a picture, you're finding what feels good for you right now.
So success isn't replicating a movie scene, it's finding shared fun and comfort.
Exactly. The true goal isn't achieving a specific pose perfectly. It's finding joy and comfort together. The source suggests approaching it with the attitude of a child almost.
I like playful.
Yes, with curiosity, excitement, and absolutely no pressure. If it doesn't work, you shrug, maybe laugh about it and say, okay, that wasn't for us, what's next? This playful attitude allows for genuine exploration of boundaries without feeling forced or like a failure if something doesn't click immediately.
Because the real win isn't just hitting a specific pose, but the shared happy moments, the connection, maybe even laughing together when things go a little unexpectedly.
That shared experience, the connection built through vulnerability and playfulness, that is the true measure of success according to the source.
That makes so much sense. Now, beyond these core strategies, the source also touches on a few specific considerations that seem worth highlighting quickly.
Right, like considering older couples.
Yes, for couples maybe in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, what did the source say there?
Health becomes a primary consideration, even more so. Bone and muscle health are key. The source points out that some positions requiring significant strength, like standing or lifting a partner, might simply not be feasible or safe anymore.
Okay.
And flexibility can also be limited. It's really about understanding and respecting how bodies naturally change over time and finding what works for your current physical reality without judgment.
Good point. And pacing. How fast or slow should you go?
Always start slow and gentle when trying a new position, or even re-exploring one you haven't done in a while. Definitely don't try to mimic those fast, intense movements you might see in movies.
Why not?
The source explicitly notes this is often ineffective because it doesn't allow time to actually find the right positioning for comfort and sensation. And crucially, it significantly increases the risk of discomfort or even injury. Slow, deliberate exploration is key.
Okay, slow and steady. And that note about fancy positions.
Yeah.
What was the takeaway there?
This raises an important perspective shift. The source points out that visually attractive or really fancy positions don't inherently lead to better orgasms or more pleasure.
Really?
Yeah. They might be mentally exciting because they look different or challenging, but the actual genital contact and physical sensation are often pretty similar across a wide variety of positions. What truly matters for reaching orgasm and sustained pleasure is being able to maintain a comfortable rhythm and position long enough for both partners to build arousal. Difficult, fancy positions are inherently harder to maintain comfortably and consistently.
So focus should be on sensation and connection, not necessarily acrobatics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That sums it up well.
So bringing all of this back to you, the listener, maybe you're facing this kind of situation right now. It sounds like these strategies pulled from this expert source really provide a comprehensive roadmap. It's clearly about so much more than just physically executing a new position.
It absolutely is. It's really about enhancing the overall intimacy, the understanding, and the deep connection in your relationship. If you distill it all down, the core message seems to be about combining practical knowledge about bodies and positions with improving communication to understand any reluctance. Then, actively building confidence in each other through affirmation and affection, and finally, shifting the focus from external ideals to the genuine joy of your shared personal experience.
So what does this all mean for you right now, listening to this?
Well, maybe consider this. The source describes sex not just as a physical act, but as an expression of mutual nurturing and honoring. If you were to really embrace that perspective, seeing intimacy as a way to cherish and uplift your partner and be cherished in return, how might that change your approach to trying new things? How might that open up deeper possibilities for connection and exploration in your relationship?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into navigating intimacy and new positions in long-term relationships, guided by insights from this listener question and expert advice. We hope this gives you some practical, encouraging ways to approach this common challenge in your own relationship.